Welcome to today's webinar, a fireside chat that has us delving deep into the StarRocks on AWS solution, a new partner solution developed by CelerData in collaboration with AWS. Today's discussion will offer a great first look at StarRocks and all the ways it can enhance how your enterprise handles analytics in real time, analytics on the data lake, and much more. My name is Tyler. I serve on the marketing team for CelerData, and I'll be your host for today's discussion. I'm joined by Sida Shen, a product manager for CelerData, and Troy Ameigh, a senior partner solutions architect for AWS. We're lucky to have both of them here, and I'm sure this conversation is going to be enlightening for everybody. Let's kick off this conversation. And I'd like to take it first by talking with you, Troy. Some of the people attending today, they may be familiar with AWS Partner Solutions. I believe it might have been formerly referred to as Quick Starts. But could you perhaps give us an overview of the AWS Partner Solutions program and maybe discuss how customers benefit from AWS Partner Solutions?
Yeah, I'd love to. And Tyler and Sida, thank you again for having me today. It's a great pleasure to be here and get to talk with you all and talk to everybody that's joined us today. So thank you. Look, AWS Partner Solutions, formerly known as Quick Starts. Actually, right now, if you look out at the website, you see it kind of both ways. We're actually in the middle of rebranding everything, right? They are a way that we developed in the AWS Partner Org for helping partners build infrastructure as code deployments for their products on AWS, right? So it's a great way for a partner to be able to get their product out to their customers on AWS and basically give them a one-button deployment, push button deployment mechanism, right? So within the partner solutions, we either use CloudFormation, CDK, or Terraform to do this. And we build out the automations with the partners so that the customers can have a really easy mechanism for deploying the partner product onto AWS. They come with documentation. They also, like in your guys' case, come with partner support, right? So you get StarRocks deployed, and if you run into any issues, you get to work with CelerData to resolve that, right? And then AWS handles all the AWS specific pieces of the deployment.
Great, perfect. Thanks for filling us in here. Sida, I'd like to kind of direct the conversation to you. I think there might be some questions that folks have right now looking at, maybe my background or your background and wondering, CelerData, what does all this have to do with StarRocks? Could you maybe first give us an introduction to CelerData, what it is, and then how it relates to StarRocks?
Yep, of course. Hi, everyone. I am a product manager from CelerData. My name is Sida Shen, and my background mainly is in analytics and ML ops tools, and of course, building databases. So first, I'll kind of give a introduction of CelerData. And CelerData is founded to kind of enable enterprises to quickly and easily grow their business with a real-time analytical engine that is 3 times more cost efficient of any other solution on the market. That solution is StarRocks. So CelerData is the initiator, maintainer, and the main contributor of the StarRocks project, which is featured in this AWS partner solution. And StarRocks is used worldwide by market-leading brands, including Airbnb, Lenovo, and Trip.com. CelerData generates critical new insights for those data-driven companies.
Great, and we talked about CelerData. Let's get to the meat of this conversation at StarRocks. Sida, you've been involved with the StarRocks project for quite some time. I'm wondering if you'd be willing to share some of your background with the project itself, how you maybe got involved, and then talk to our audience here and let them know, exactly kind of what is StarRocks from more like a technical perspective than just a marketing perspective.
Yeah, of course. So my story with StarRocks goes back. So myself, I am a contributor to this great source available project, And now I'm with CelerData. I am a product manager, mostly focused on the StarRocks core, so the storage engine. And for StarRocks is a source available project that's available on GitHub and has been iterated for a few years by now. So StarRocks is the core of CelerData's whole like data analytics solution. It is a high performance OLAP database that enables real-time, multidimensional, and highly concurrent data analysis. So StarRocks made its source code available around, say, 2 years ago, now having like countless number of instances deployed by its users in their production environment.
And Sida, you mentioned OLAP database. That might not be a completely familiar term to everybody on this call today. Can you give some background to bring everybody up to speed?
Yes, of course. StarRocks is a real-time OLAP database. OLAP really stands for online analytical processing. So it's commonly believed as the approach to answering multidimensional analytical queries. And from here, I probably spend a few more minutes to talk about, how OLAP, like why OLAP exists from the very beginning. Okay. So talking about OLAP, there's another term called OLTP. So LAP means online analytical processing, and TP stands for transactional processing. So an OLTP database job is to capture and maintain transactional data. And each transactional record is it's made of like multiple fields or columns, example, including like a bank or credit card activity or like retail checkout scanning and those. Typical OLTP database is MySQL. So before OLAP or AP, analytical database exist, people were using OLTP databases to perform their analytics workflow. So in OLTP, the emphasis rather on query is on fast processing because OLTP databases are supposed to be written and updated frequently and fast. Also, as the sole producer of the data, in TP databases, data security is also not but probably the most important key factor, right? If a transaction fails, there is always a kind of like a built-in logic that ensures data integrity and ensure data is safe. So back in the day when the data size is small, like 20 years ago, it hardly exceeds like 1 million row. Analysts often just opt for OLTP database like MySQL directly for their analytic tasks. OLTP database can generally look pretty good for analytics, with a small scale data, right? Its main job is data update and data change. So it guarantees data freshness. So data can be refreshed at basically any rate, and the OLTP and TP database can always keep up, right? And and analyzing with TP database is easy too, if you can do it directly on the production database without the need of moving data around to another place and do analytics and keep data consistency and those kind of stuff, right? It looks great, right? But it fails. OLTP database is good for processing, but on query side is not as good, right? That really kind of like fell apart kind of quickly. In the past like 20 years, as IT grew exponentially, we have the technology to kind of produce data at a rate that was never even thought, that was never kind of imaginable. The data size the corporations own now grew exponentially while having like analytics becoming more complex and more accessible at the same time. So OLTP databases poor performance starts to show, right? So and with like every demand, there is always an answer to that, right? To answer this kind of demand, a great number of like OLAP systems emerged, and those systems are mostly like batch processing systems. Like one good example is Hadoop, right? The Hadoop ecosystem and all of the MapReduce kind of application that runs on it, right? And those systems are designed for batch related jobs, and they're easy to scale to some extent, but they're not really going to support like real-time analytics and ad hoc queries, right? First of all, like data freshness is difficult to guarantee data freshness, and also query latency is atrocious, as typical in the minutes or more, making like ad hoc queries like almost impossible to do, right? With a increasing demand, there's always a new solution that comes around. Like after MapReduce, we have Spark, related like in-memory kind of computational engine like Spark, and to today, a very competitive market of a lot of like good OLAP databases like StarRocks itself.
Yeah, and that's great, and I'm sure audience appreciates the OLAP 101 introduction. I think some of that information is useful to keep in your back pocket during your next holiday party. But Sida, you talk about a lot of stuff going on in this space, and I'm wondering, when it comes to StarRocks itself, how would you say it's really positioned in this space amongst the other solutions out there?
Yeah, great follow-up question. I think there are a lot of like similar or OLAP databases that try to solve the same problem. But I think I truly believe StarRocks is a special project among them all, right? Typically, I would kind of summarize StarRocks feature in kind of 3 words, actually 3 Fs. First is fast and fresh and flexible. So StarRocks really gives its users a fast, fresh, and flexible analytics experience. So first, I want to kind of talk about fast. So fast in OLAP is an old debate, right? It's an old topic, and everybody talk about it, and it's getting old. But I think rather thinking about getting your query performance from 2 seconds to 1 second, you can think of keeping the same query performance, but cutting the number of instances, or cutting the total cost of ownership to half. And now you have half of your money to deploy elsewhere. I think that's where performance really help our users in this space, right? Fast really stands for fast query. So with StarRocks, we want to make sure that every query is being returned within seconds, and this really makes ad hoc queries on massive amount of data possible. So how do we do this? So StarRocks has an kind of like an MPP architecture. MPP stands for massively parallel processing, which really means that StarRocks is able to take full advantage of massive amount of CPUs. So it means that if you add more instances to a StarRocks cluster, the performance would increase in a quasi-linear fashion, right? And some more. StarRocks is also equipped with a vectorized execution engine, a columnar storage engine. A columnar store is different than row store, right? Row store is basically saying, like in data files, data are stored in rows, and a columnar store is basically saying data stored in columns, right? Storing data in a columnar fashion, really, you get a better compression rate and less CPU thread switch to basically further make more efficient use of resources. A columnar storage is pretty standard across the OLAP industry today, but combining that with like all compute operators optimize is really not an easy task, and it's really time consuming. It's a lot of things to optimize along the way, but StarRocks has done it over the past say 2 years. the result is really, top of the line performance among some of the best OLAP databases in the market. And StarRocks is not only fast on the fly queries, it's really fast in all kinds of scenarios. So StarRocks can also have, if the concurrency of your queries is really high, or the computation is so complex that it's not reasonable to compute them on the fly, StarRocks also has a very intelligent materialized view that can store the pre-computed result and do query rewrite and automatically accelerate to your query. And this is how StarRocks is fast. Fresh, I say fresh mainly means fresh data. So in that data analytics, there is a say called garbage in, garbage out, right? So if the data is not good, the result cannot be good, period. So if the data is out of date, we're just looking at the past. We're not focusing on what's happening now. So retrospective study is valuable, but it's to some extent, right? So for some scenarios like fraud detection, like without data freshness, it's almost impossible to do, right? It's not almost, it's just impossible to do, right? So StarRocks can always guarantee data freshness while supporting real-time data change, including update, partial update, and delete operations, right? And doing real-time analytics is not an especially easy task for all AP systems. So for OLAP systems, it's not like MySQL, right? Having an incredible query performance and real-time data change together is not really that easy. So StarRocks has an columnar storage, right? So means we write data into big data files and immutable data files. And StarRocks is able to do like real-time data change through its one-of-a-kind kind of delete and insert kind of update mechanism based on its primary key index. Unlike other databases, they update by kind of writing new lines or new data into different versions and then merge them on read, right? Merge different versions on read. And that creates a big overhead on query. StarRocks does this like more of like a merge on write kind of fashion, right? Because we have a primary key index that knows where exactly the data is stored. So we are able to do a delete and then insert. So on query, there is no overhead at all. And this kind of special mechanism kind of ensures data freshness while not impacting query performance at all, like other solutions out there. And this is a big thing for the OLAP kind of scenarios, real-time scenarios. And this feature has been running for about 1.5 years now, and we have a lot of adopters, and it's been kind of stable, right? And the last thing for StarRocks is it is very flexible. I think flexible is a different word than easy to use, right? StarRocks is not a system that is, you get your hand on it and the first minute you think, oh, this is easy to use. It's rather a system that it gets simpler as you dig deeper into its functionality and features. I would like to believe that a system that truly enables this is a system that truly enables analytics workflow, not becoming a limiter factor for our users at any point. So our users don't need to adapt to the system, like we adapt to the users, right? A great demonstration of this kind of flexibility of StarRocks is in data modeling. So modern OLAP databases are not built for multi-table joins. With other OLAP databases, you have to take your normalized tables and pre-join them into a big flat table in order to get just acceptable query performance. And I really do not believe this is a thing that our user needs to endure. And because joining table together with another system and then importing the data into the OLAP database is very expensive, and this operation is expensive and time consuming, labor intensive as well. Also, when you do those pre-joins into flat tables, data change or a simple data append requires a full table refresh, at least a full partition refresh, which is just computational heavy, right? And also, this really creates like a roadblock for exploratory analysis, because once a flat table is joined and loaded into the database, there is no way to, or it's really difficult to without the join capability, it's really difficult to do like federated query between two tables. And this really makes like exploring your data really difficult, right? And StarRocks make a really big effort. This is a really big effort that's been going on for like a year and a half, 2 years. StarRocks says no to flat tables. Just but optimizing join is not that easy of a task. Imagine like running the queries, like going from point A to point B. The execution engine is like a car engine, right? It does all of the heavy lifting and determine how fast we go. And the execution plan is the route we pick, right? We can have all of the speed in the world, but if we pick the wrong route, we can still be slow, right? And this is the same for executing a query. Picking a good execution plan is sometimes more important than the executor itself, especially for join queries. The search space for the best join strategy is immensely big, with table reordering and distributed join strategy and so on and so on and so on. And the solution is basically to have a cost-based optimizer to do cost-based optimization based on the collected statistic of data distribution, and automatically picks the best execution plan, right? And we have a bunch of studies in this field that talks about cost-based optimization, but this is a thing that is really hardly coupled with the storage engine, right? So you need to build your own cost-based optimizer for your own database for it to work wonderfully, right? And StarRocks has a native built cost-based optimizer that collects the statistic of the data and automatically picks the best execution plan. And this is at the heart of how StarRocks can do joins really well, and enables just free and flexible analytics.
Great. Well, thanks, Sida, for running through that. I mean, if folks didn't know enough about StarRocks when they joined, they certainly know now. But I think that's really great, and I'd like to actually bring Troy back in here to kind of go back to our main topic, which I think is what a lot of people are here to learn about today, which is the StarRocks on AWS solution. Troy, I'm going to move things over to you, but I'd like to hear your thoughts about the StarRocks on AWS solution, and where you think it fits and how you think it can help AWS customers.
I mean, look, I think Sida kind of covered a lot, right, about the benefits of StarRocks and what it can do for customers, right? I think the partner solution itself is a great way to get StarRocks up and running in your environment. It makes it really easy to get it up and running in your environment. And I think it does. There's a lot of different ways to do analytics, right? When at the end of the day, what it comes down to is what best fits your needs, right? And there's a lot of different products out there. AWS has some products. There's StarRocks. There's other products. I do think StarRocks, based on what I've seen working with you all to build this quick start, does have a lot of great features in it, and it definitely does, to me, speed up certain aspects of the analytics, right? And I think Sida touched a lot of that today, and I think that's where it kind of gives customers the benefit. Where the partner solution gives customers the benefit is the fact that it's really easy to deploy. You literally go out to the landing page, click one link, you fill in a bunch of parameters, and you click go. And I think in like 30 minutes later, you have a full environment stood up with StarRocks, and you're ready just to configure the StarRocks part to start working on your analytics, right? And that kind of power and speed gives you the ability to get it stood up quickly, understand how it works, get it configured, where, if you were to deploy it manually, even on AWS, it's still going to take a lot more time than 30 minutes to get it deployed, right? I mean, when we talk about partner solutions, if we look just at a VPC, to stand up a VPC in production ready environments, about 100 steps, right? If you do it all through the console. If you use the partner solution or the former Quick Start to stand up the VPC, it's 3 steps. You log into your account, you click the link, and enter a couple of parameters, and you press go, and in 15 minutes, you have a production ready VPC, right? And that's where the StarRocks partner solution gives you the power. And the other great thing about it is it lets you deploy consistently across regions and accounts, right? So depending on how the customer's environment set up, maybe you have separate accounts for dev and test versus production, right? Maybe you use separate regions and you need to deploy StarRocks in the different environments or different regions based on the work you're doing. It gives you that consistent experience. Now, it may change a little bit based on the parameters you select, but for the most part, you're getting a consistent deployment of StarRocks every time, and you're getting it in about 30 minutes. So it makes it really nice for the customers to kind of get it out there, and then to be able to use the power of StarRocks at the end of the day.
That's great. And Sida, same question, though I will issue a challenge here, maybe in as few words as possible. Maybe explain how you view the StarRocks on AWS solution, and sort of like how it maybe differs a little bit from traditional StarRocks experience.
I think the key of StarRocks on AWS, the solution is that it's automatically built on, like, it's deploy StarRocks in AWS environment correctly. I think correctly is the key here. So it's easy to spin out, a couple EC2s and download StarRocks and connect them together, and you have a analytic platform, but it's not secure, right? I think the key of this solution is the security it provides.
Great. And talking about benefits, and this is, I think, a question that I'd like to hear Troy's take on it. But obviously, we're in interesting economic times, and people are looking more to the cost basis of where their money is going. And so, I wonder if maybe you could speak a little bit to the costs of running StarRocks partner solution.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like when it comes to partner solutions themselves, there is no actual cost for using the partner solution. And I'm going to explain that here in a second. So what happens is when you use a partner solution, at the end of the day, there's no cost to deploy it. You're just paying for the services that are deployed, and any licensing that the partners like StarRocks may add to the solution, right? So it really is a benefit for you. It can really help your DevOps deployment, and it's not costing you anything at the end of the day. Along with that, if you're a partner and you want to build one like we did with StarRocks, there's no cost to build a partner solution either. Our team is here to help partners get their products in a repeatably deployable method on AWS for their customers so they can go do the business that they need to do. So we work with partners at no cost to make that happen. And it comes with certain other things, right? We do the deployment, we do the documentation. We also sit and do awesome things like this with our partners. And it's all at no cost. So I think, in today's time, there's a real benefit for companies that want to get something like StarRocks deployed really quick, right? They get the speed. They're not paying anything extra for it. They're getting a well-architected solution, which may reduce some of the cost if you're trying to build this all out yourself, because we've built it to what StarRocks requires. It's secure. It's, I don't want to say a minimal build, but it's the best practice build, right, for StarRocks. So you're not unintentionally adding any cost into it that you wouldn't need when you deploy StarRocks, right? So I think that really helps customers in this day and age. And the other great thing is it gives companies the ability to do it in an infrastructure as code manner and to build out how they want to do their deployments with infrastructure as code, which there in itself saves customers money, right? The more you can do with infrastructure as code, the more you can get your DevOps teams involved in building your environments out. You save time and money by doing that. So I think that's where the partner solution really lends itself to help customers that want to use StarRocks.
That's great. That's perfect. So Sida, coming back to you, we've touched on, I think, a lot of different areas that you maybe feel strongly that StarRocks can help solve for AWS customers. But there's two areas in particular that we hear about a lot. Real-time analytics and data lake analytics. And I'm wondering if you could speak a little bit to both of those, in terms of how StarRocks can help AWS customers. Can you give us maybe a little bit of an overview about how it helps with real-time, and then maybe give us a quick overview of how it deals with data lake analytics?
I think for real-time analytics, this is a really important topic, as I covered like some of that in the previous answer, right? So StarRocks can always keep your data fresh, no matter if it's data append or data change with update, partial update, or partial update means like we only provide a few columns, or data delete operations. And while doing all of the data change, and StarRocks can also provide good query performance at the same time, right? So query performance is not designed to be affected, and it's not affected at all. And this is, I think, the key of why StarRocks is kind of like special on the real-time analytics field, right? And for data lake analytics, I think to talk about data lake analytics, we first need to talk about what is data lake, right? And data lake for us, infrastructure builders, it's a kind of like a unified storage device that is based on object storage like S3, right? And this is kind of different for our users. Objects, data lake is just a place they can just dump everything into it, right? Structured data like CSV files, or semi-structured data like JSON or map, right? Even unstructured data like image or video, right? By using data lake, you're basically taking data persistence from your local storage, your local SSD storage, which is expensive, and although fast, but expensive and insecure, right? Not as highly available as object storage like S3 provided by AWS. Also with data lake, you have all of your data together. Having like a single source of truth for data is a big thing for a lot of the users, at least I talk to, right? And as for StarRocks, what StarRocks can do for data lake analytics. So for data lake analytics is basically querying data that is stored on data lake, right? And StarRocks has released a catalog feature, I think 2 versions before, so a few months ago, like half a year ago, maybe. So it can read metadata from Apache Hive, Apache Hudi, and Apache Iceberg, and use that metadata to directly query data stored in data lake without writing a create table or create an external table within StarRocks. And this really helps our users to to kind of do exploratory analysis on data lake without actually moving data from data lake to StarRocks storage, right? While also having really good performance, because StarRocks still has the cost-based optimizer and the execution engine, all the vectorized operators, all those things, and it can achieve a performance that's around 3 times as fast as Trino or Presto, right? And so this is all I have.
Yeah, that's great. So I've only got a couple more questions left, and I'd like to remind folks who are watching right now, if you have any questions yourself that have come up during the course of this conversation, please feel free to post them in the Q&A section, and we'll be happy to get to them. So the next question is for Troy. I'm wondering if you can maybe elaborate a little bit more on how the AWS integration and automation team is helpful for partners and customers.
Yeah, no, hey, thanks for that great question. Look, I mean, we kind of talked about it, right, with the partner solutions, and that's just one thing we kind of do. We're really here to help partners develop their infrastructure as code practices. We have a lot of tools that we use in our daily lives. Some of them are out there open source, such as our TestCat tool, which is used to test CloudFormation templates. It's great when you're building a partner solution and it's kind of designed for that, but it also works really well just doing general CloudFormation stuff, right? The other thing we do is we're here to help partners kind of get used to working with IAC, whether it's in CloudFormation, CDK, or Terraform. We have a lot of partners come to us that, they're like, hey, we want to get started with this. We just don't know what we're doing, right? So we'll take the time, we'll work with those partners. We'll help them figure out which language is best for them. Sometimes if it's a partner that's all in on AWS, CloudFormation's a really easy kind of low-level lift to get them started. CDK is great for partners that want to work with AWS because it gives you different languages, and your developers can work in the languages they're used to make an IAC deployment, right? And then of course Terraform is kind of taking over the whole market for everybody, especially in those hybrid cloud environments, right? So we'll work with partners to do all that. We'll help them work through their tooling, build their best practices, and everything they need to kind of do what we do, right? The great thing is too, if a partner wants to use CloudFormation, they're working with the team that's one of the biggest users of CloudFormation at AWS. So we kind of know a lot of the ins and outs, right? We've experienced a lot of the issues, so we're there for that. If we talk about the customer side, right, we're really here to help enable them use IAC and use different partner products. The things we build with our partners, you can find not only in partner solutions, but you can find them in Control Tower, the service catalog. We have hooks into various other services within AWS where we give that partner a build once format to let them maintain one level of code, but then it can be consumed by many services at AWS. You'll find us in the CloudFormation public registry. There's some stuff we have out there. So it's really a great way to work with customers to enable their IAC, as well as help support them, right? If they run into a problem with partner solutions, or if they have a unique situation, right? At the end of the day, the stuff we build is production ready, and it's meant to get you 80% of the way for 80% of your business cases, right? So where the power of the team really comes in is in that other 20%, whether it's working with a partner or a customer. We can help you customize what you're trying to work with the partner solution or the Terraform template in a way that you don't break it for one, or that you're still able to get upstream updates, right? It's very easy with some of the stuff we do in the IAC world to take it and modify it and then realize 2 months later when you're dependent on it that, oh my Lord, I broke it and I no longer get upstream updates, right, from the initial developer. So we work with customers on that as well. But again, I think, along with the partner solutions, the power that our team really brings is the team, right? And I think, hopefully you all have seen that through the work that we've done with StarRocks and getting the partner solution out.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then, again, speaking of this partner solution, and I'll start with you, Sida, and pass it over to Troy. But what's next, right? You've
Yeah.
told us about all these great things that StarRocks is capable of delivering today for the partner solution. But what can people expect going forward?
Yep, and we'll keep on investing into AWS partner solution, and also for the StarRocks and AWS to support more AWS tools, right? And for data lake analytics, we're already working on AWS Glue adoption, and I think the implementation is done, and we should be able to see that very, very, very shortly, right? And also for real time AWS Kinesis is on the list, right? And also StarRocks is working on a cloud native version of StarRocks. The StarRocks now has a tightly coupled storage and compute design, and we're working on a cloud native version of StarRocks, which features a separation of storage and compute for better elasticity and availability, right? And that will have some way to contribute that or have that featured with AWS. And
I guess, Troy, is there anything else you want to add to that?
I mean, look, from the AWS side, right? We just want StarRocks and StellarData to be profitable, right? And to be able to help you all get this deployed with your customers. So where we're at now is, doing things like this, working with your internal teams, helping out with customer issues that come in, and then, working to get those new features that have been brought up, like AWS Glue and stuff, implemented so that this partner solution can be as powerful and fit your customers the best that it can.
Wonderful. All right. Well, that covers our initial fireside conversation, but the fire is still going right now. We got some time for Q&A left over for folks, and we've got some questions in the Q&A panel. But again, a reminder to folks, if you've got questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A. I know we're getting kind of close to the bottom, or the top of the hour, and we might not be able to get to all of them, but we will follow up with you if we don't cover your question, whether that be AWS related. AWS will reach out to you and help you with that question. And CelerData and StarRocks team is over here to help you with your CelerData StarRocks questions. So the first question that I actually see here, I think this is a good one for Sida, but are you able to ingest from Kafka streams? And if so, how do you handle problems caused by duplicate events?
Yes, and yes, we do have a load that's called routine load that can read from Kafka messages, and for duplicate events, for duplication, you can use our primary key model, and that features a primary key and automatically deduplicates your data. But it really depends on, if the duplicated events are by accident or, like deduplication is, or by nature, there are multiple same events that comes in. Yes.
Yeah. And then another one we got is, if I'm using Snowflake for analytics now, but I think it's expensive, can I use StarRocks to replace Snowflake?
Yes, definitely you can. And I think Snowflake is more expensive than StarRocks because of mainly the performance difference, right? And we don't really know exactly what kind of machine is Snowflake's running under the hood, but just matching the number of CPU cores, I think from our benchmark, StarRocks is around 3 times faster than Snowflake, which is, is latency number from 3 seconds to 1 second is probably not a lot, but thinking about number of instances, total cost of ownership, right? And a third of that, it's a lot of saving, right? And so yes, you definitely can use StarRocks to replace Snowflake for your analytical needs.
Awesome. And here's another interesting question, Sida. Do
Yes.
you pre-aggregate measures and metrics based on dimensional hierarchies? And how do you handle the impact of dimensional hierarchy changes?
Interesting question. So pre-aggregation, we in StarRocks we have a kind of like a table type, like a pre-aggregated. So that kind of table takes you some columns and pre-aggregate a group on those columns, right? And for column change, one solution for that within StarRocks is to build materialized views, and so when the column change, you can build another materialized view on that, and I think that can solve your problem.
And another question just came in. I saw you released a new version recently, 2.4. I believe it's talking about StarRocks. What are the new features in that release?
Okay, so version 2.4 that was released around 2-3 weeks ago, and I'm gonna probably highlight the two of the biggest features, right? So first one is our materialized view now supports drawing, and drawing and primary key models. So primary key model is the kind of the real time focused kind of table type, right? And the second big feature is the introduction of compute node. And this feature is still in experimental, but it can be very useful for ad hoc queries. So StarRocks has two kinds of processes, right? A native StarRocks, FE and BE. So FE is responsible for managing metadata and query planning and those kind of stuff. And BE is the tightly coupled compute and storage, right? And with the tightly compute storage and compute, and scaling B is automatic, but it's time consuming because it's stateful, right? The data is stored in it. However, with a compute node does not persist any data within it. So scaling that is instant or within seconds because it's stateless. And that is especially useful for ad hoc queries, right? When you need to query for some time, and you can drop the compute nodes, and when you need to query again, you can bring them back up again. I think the most saving comes when the system is idle, and compute node does exactly that.
And speaking of releases, does StarRocks on AWS run a fixed version of StarRocks?
Oh, no. And actually, when you launch the StarRocks on AWS solution, you can put in a download link, and that download link it's the download link for downloading the StarRocks binary, and you can find the link for each version in the StarRocks.io website download page. And you can just copy and paste that link into the settings when you're spinning up the solution, and it's gonna download the version that you specify.
All right, we're running up on time, but I got one more question. And again, folks, if you've got any additional questions you want to ask, you can put them in the Q&A. We don't get to them, we can follow up with you later. But this last question I have is, could you talk a little bit more about the capabilities of querying on data lakes directly? Oh, see, you might be.
Sorry. Sorry. Yeah, of course. I think I've already covered most of the currently already available capabilities. So probably a little bit of roadmap and what's ahead for version 2.5, which is targeted to release in just about a month. Yeah. And remember, we have a compute node, right? A stateless compute node that was released in version 2.4 that does not persist any data on disk. But in version 2.5, we're looking to release a cache for compute node. because data lakes generally run on object storage, right? Object storage performance compared to local SSD is still slower, right? And with the introduction of a on disk, on SSD kind of, on local storage kind of cache, it's gonna boost performance immensely for those that do not need to scale like every second, scale up and down every second. Yeah.
Great. We got time for one more question that just came in. Do you support Apache Arrow Flight?
I think we do not yet. Yeah, but I think that's on our roadmap.
Great. Well, that looks like it's going to be it for the questions that we have. So I believe that's going to wrap it up for today's conversation. I learned a lot, and I'm sure everyone else here did too. Of course, if you do find yourself with more questions, you can visit the StarRocks community site at starrocks.io. Or if you like what you've heard here today, but are interested more in maybe an enterprise-ready solution, you can check us out at CelerData.com. Be sure to follow us on LinkedIn and GitHub, and join our community on Slack, which is very active. We've got plenty of folks over there who are interested in helping you, get started with StarRocks and learn a whole lot more about how it can best benefit you. It's also a great way to stay up to date with the latest news on the project. So that'll do it. Thanks again to everyone who attended today. Thank you, Sida. Thank you, Troy. It was really great having you. We know everyone here's time is valuable. We really appreciate you sharing it with us. Have a great day, and we will see you at the next webinar. Take care.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks.
Thanks.